What's up, everybody? It's your boy Devon Taylor here, aka Jesus, and this is my podcast, Jesus Take the Real. No, this is not a religious podcast. It's a podcast where we're talking movies, we're talking life, so unless movies are your religion, in that case, consider me your Lord and Savior. You're a my world mother. Wait a sec. We are switching it up a little bit today. This episode is going to be PG rated. We're going to switch it up. This episode is for the sponsors, and it's also for animated films. We're talking Pixar films today. And joining me, I have an awesome guest with me. He is my movie friend, quite literally. But more importantly, he is your movie friend. He is Aaron Dicer.
Thanks, Jesus, man. Thanks for having me in. I'm excited to talk Pixar. It is possibly my favorite film topic of all time.
I love Pixar films. I really do. So I was real excited for this one. Not that I didn't want to do your original pick. I did want to do it, but then I was like, how are we going to theme the show around
Can I say what it was?
Yeah, quiz show.
Yeah, it was Quiz Show, which is a phenomenal movie that I think a lot of people haven't seen.
I haven't seen it, and I still rented it, so I'm going to watch it anyways.
Oh, good.
Since you suggested, I'm going to watch it anyways. I'll let you know what I think. Because I did want to discuss that, but I was like, I don't really know what to pair with this. So
what other game show movies are there?
Exactly. So we went a different route, and we're doing Pixar films. Like you said, I love Pixar films. It is they are just good. Like even the ones that I don't like are still good films.
John Lasseter has the secret sauce, right? Like he's got it figured out. He understands story. Have you seen I forget how many? It's like 20 some rules of storytelling that Pixar has that they put every movie through. It becomes very obvious very quickly they just get how to tell a great story, and it's also become obvious that he's taken those same principles to Disney when they hired him to do all of Disney animation. Ever since then, the Disney movies coming out have been spectacular as well, so it's been really interesting.
Well, what I've learned in the world of animated films when it comes to animated films is they have such a hard task because they have to really hit this sweet spot of obviously they have to be entertaining for kids because they are animated films. Mm-hmm. But then you want to hit this, you want to have this tone where adults can go and see it and they can enjoy the movie. They present themes in a mature way. They don't really baby the kid audience, which I really like. And I think that's where Pixar really succeeds because, some of these movies have some really deep themes in them.
They wouldn't tell you they do not make kids movies. They make movies that anybody can enjoy. Yes. They really feel that. It's not like they even start with kids and then like, hey, let's make sure everybody else can enjoy this too. They just say, look, these themes, these principles are going to apply to all human beings. So let's make this movie.
Yeah, and I'd say, like, not even just in the world of animated films, but just in the world of movies, I'd say Pixar probably has the best batting average out of any company.
Sure.
Like, because how many do they have? 20?
No, they don't have that many feature lengths yet. I think they're somewhere in like the 14 range, maybe somewhere in there.
But still.
But yeah, only until recently have people started saying, that one wasn't. I think starting with Brave was kind of the first one people were a little bit. I mean, Cars is one that people always mention. I think the original Cars is actually a great movie.
I like the original Cars. Cars 2 was horrible.
Right.
But I think Cars 3, they're like completely forgetting about Cars 2, it looks like. And I'm okay with that. So
I am as well. It is my least favorite Pixar movie for sure.
Maybe they'll pull like a Bryan Singer with the X-Men films and they're just like, hey, that film didn't happen.
You can do that with movies,
What's Cars 2?
Who's heard of this Cars 2?
Yeah, I'm intrigued to see where they go. But yeah, so we're going to get to some of our favorite Pixar films. But before we get into that, just a reminder, guys, Jesus Take the Real comes out every Tuesday, and you can find it on iTunes, Google Play Music, Stitcher, Spreaker, and of course on my YouTube channel, Jesus12. So be subscribed to that and any of those apps to follow the podcast. And then find me on Facebook as well at Jesus12, and I post all my video stuff, all the podcasts. So yeah, you can find me pretty much anywhere. And of course, the biggest one, follow me on Twitter at Jesus12. Let me know what you guys are talking about whenever you're listening to the show. And make sure you do those reviews. 5-star reviews make me feel real good inside. So get those reviews in and make sure you're sharing these podcasts with your friends. So let's go ahead and get into the episode. The first segment, we all know what it is. Who the hell are you? Aaron Dicer is you're the only person, you're the first actual certified critic to be on the show. Well, so congratulations there.
Well, nice. Do I get an award or anything? Or
no, but
okay.
I remember. So Aaron hosts the Sif Pop podcast, and you were bummed that I didn't have you on the podcast already. So not only are you the first,
like, what's up, man? Come on. I mean, we're pals now.
Yes. So not only are you the first certified critic to be on here, you are also the first one to record in my new setup.
So, nice.
So you get that privilege as well. Yeah.
I love this little recording corner. I love that you have all the stubs from the movies for the last like 3 years.
Yeah, I love ticket stubs.
I think that's beautiful.
And for those of you who can't see, you can see when you take a look at my videos, but I have all my ticket stubs on the walls, and the text are color coordinated on how much I enjoyed the film.
Yeah. See, I would have never picked up on that if you hadn't said. So you've got green, red, yellow, and blue.
Yes, red is I hated it. Red is terrible, the worst of the worst. Yellow is okay, it was an alright film. Green it's a good film. It's a pretty solid good film. And then blue is I loved this film.
All right. You loved Cafe Society, huh?
Ooh, I love Cafe Society. I think that was a super underrated. I just rewatched that today, actually. That's funny that you saw that ticket out of any of them. I just rewatched it.
It's right in my eye line, and I noticed it's got a blue tack, and I just sometimes, man, Woody Allen is just hit or miss with me.
Yeah, I think so in general, but his last two, I really liked Irrational Man as well.
Yeah, I actually did like Irrational Man. I enjoyed that. It's unbelievable. He puts out a movie every year. Like,
it's nuts.
At least one movie every year.
And he's what? He's in his 80s,
I don't know, 170? I have no idea how old that man is.
Ask him and Tommy Lee Jones. They're all in that secret cult of just
crazy.
Never dying. But so, yes, Aaron, who the hell are you? So you go ahead and tell the people just what you do, all the many things that you do in the world of movies.
I love movies. About 15 years ago, I started reviewing movies in print just on my blog. And it was pretty much just for me. It was just like, I got to find a way to get out my thoughts on these movies. The internet was, just blogs were just kind of becoming a thing. And so my friends and family would check in, see what I felt about a movie. And I kind of became known as the guy to go to if you had a movie question. So I was, everybody's got a movie friend. The one they know, they've probably seen it. They can probably tell me about it.
Okay.
And so eventually it was more than friends and family. It was people I didn't know who were stumbling on it, were enjoying the stuff. So then I made a transition from print to YouTube and decided that video was easier for me to get more reviews out, because I'm more comfortable just doing kind of stream of consciousness thought in front of a camera. When I write something, I spend days on it because I'm too much of a perfectionist. But with video, I could just say it, I could just do it. And so I moved to YouTube and started to build an audience. Then the local NBC affiliate called me and said they had seen my reviews and they wanted me to possibly do a review on the air for a news segment on the weekend. And so I said, sure, let's give that a shot. The first one I did was 5 years ago, I think. It was the summer the Dark Knight came out, and it was right when the shootings happened in the theaters.
Well, that was Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah, it was Dark Knight Rises.
Dark Knight Rises, 2011, 2012,
Yeah, it was Dark Knight Rises, and that was the first one I ever did. And they enjoyed it. So they said, hey, why don't you come back next month? And so I came back next month. And they're like, hey, why don't you come back in 2 weeks? And I was like, back in 2 weeks. And they're like, you know what? Let's just do this every week. So since then, I've been, going in there and doing a movie review or two every weekend. And because of that, I'm a member of the Broadcast Film Critics Association, the BFCA. So I vote in the Critics' Choice Awards and go out to the awards in LA every year and get a chance to hobnob with the, celebrities and lots of fun stuff like that. I get, screeners in the mail and that kind of fun stuff.
You're the most legit movie person I know. Like this is no joke.
But here's the thing: I still do it because primarily it's for me. Like I love movies and I want to get my thoughts out there, and I'm glad that other people love it. The YouTube channel is Your Movie Friend, so just search for Your Movie Friend on YouTube. The website is yourmoviefriend.com, so that's the primary way to find me. My name is Aaron Dicer, AARONDICER. That's my Twitter, @Aaron Dicer. And I found Twitter to be a great place to have movie conversations.
I've also realized Instagram is getting my show out a lot lately.
Oh, yeah?
Instagram's another really big one I've noticed. But yeah, Twitter is huge.
See, everything other than Twitter is more of my, there's a little movies in there, but it's more of my non-movie life, whether it's Facebook or Instagram or what. It's just kind of me. And so, but Twitter has been primarily movie-based conversation for
crazy.
me.
Twitter, it's the fastest, but you can also find real people online. Like this isn't just like, in the YouTube comments, these no-face kind of people.
Right.
If you ever think about that. But with Twitter, like these are real people just out in the world that, enjoy the same things you do. And And then that's pretty much the dream. Like you get paid to talk and watch movies. And,
I know it's
that's the dream. That's what I want to do. I don't care what it is that I want to do in the future, as long as it involves movies. Cool.
Yeah, living the dream. The other thing, you mentioned the podcast, Sif Pop. If you want to check that out, it's SIFTPOP. Jesus is on every once in a while. We have a rotating group of what we call guest gurus.
Yeah,
and
I've done 3 episodes now.
Yeah, so. And so, but that's weekly. We take a week off every once in a while I'm traveling. We were off this last week, but we'll be back this week. And Andrew Ormsby, who I think has been on this podcast,
Mr. Flick Freaks himself, yes, he has been on here,
is the co-host of Sif Pop. So you can check out that every week.
Yeah, and I was super excited to get you on because, I mean, I told you guys on the Sif Pop podcast, kind of collaborating with you guys on his channel and with Sif Pop, kind of pushed me a little bit more creatively, and I'm like, okay, so, and that's, kind of how the podcast was born.
Cool.
So I am super excited. So the first game we're going to play, well, not the first game, it's the game. We played 2 games last week, but this week we are just sticking to the one again. But every week on Jesus Take the Reel, we play a game themed towards the theme of the day. And so since we're talking Pixar films, these are called the Animation Oscars. So we got 8 categories that we're going to go through and give awards to certain things in the world of animated films. And not just Pixar, guys. This is just animated in general. So I already have some picks, so I'll say my pick first so Aaron has a minute or two.
Yeah, it's going to be off the top of my head. So we'll see what
that's
what
what I like about the
here.
show. The show is very spontaneous. I just want the first thing that comes to your head, most likely.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so I will start off with Best Actor. The Best Actor category, I chose Tom Hanks for Woody. I couldn't pick one of the 3 Toy Stories, so I just picked Woody in general because I think he really changed the game for protagonists as far as animation films go. Because Woody is a flawed character. He's not perfect. He doesn't always make the right decisions, but at the same time, he is very loyal and protective of his friends. Woody he's a fantastic character, and I'm not a big Tom Hanks fan at all, but Woody is easily my favorite role from Tom Hanks, so that would be my winner for Best Actor in animated films.
Don't be surprised if I stay in the Pixar realm with a lot of these because they're making the best animated movies for sure. But I have to go with Albert Brooks from Finding Nemo and then Finding Dory, but more for Finding Nemo. I think that performance is stunning in the way he is hilarious and yet genuinely nervous about his son, and like there's a lot of emotion there. I think it's a great performance.
It really is. Like, that's a film that I forget that I'm watching a movie about a fish. It's a movie about a father, and that's, like you said, that's what Pixar does best.
Yeah.
So for Best Actress, I went a little deep dig here because I like, I mean, not to say that I don't like popular animated films, but I do like the more underrated ones. And I went with Gene Simmons. This is the American voice for Howl's Moving Castle.
Okay.
It's a Miyazaki film. Have you seen Howl's Moving Castle?
Yeah, absolutely.
One, the American cast in general is underrated. You got Christian Bale playing Howl. You got Billy Crystal in there. And then you got Miss Gene Simmons who portrays Sophie, the older version of Sophie. And she gives such a wonderful performance. Like, the characters in that film are so rich. Like, Miyazaki he's a master in animation. And I think it's one of the best vocal performances out there. And I actually prefer the American dub to the Japanese version.
That surprised me because at first I was like, the guy from Kiss? What? Like, I didn't even know did he do a female voice in that movie? I am so out of it. What happened? I think I'm going to go, and I can't remember her last name, but her first name is Phyllis, and she played Sadness in Inside Out.
Okay.
Here's what I love about that performance. It is... To play a particular emotion, first of all, is in itself a challenge, but she somehow manages to capture exactly what sadness is, right? Yeah. In a funny way. But then the most touching parts of that movie are her realizing her importance to the emotional spectrum. As she's been told, this entire time just to stay out of it, that sadness is a bad thing, and to realize that she actually plays an important role. I think it's a great voice performance.
I agree with you 100%. I'll save my thoughts on that because Inside Out is a winner of one of my awards a little bit down the line.
All right,
I'll save my thoughts, but hold on to that one, though. So for the next category, I got Best Supporting Actor, and I think this performance is one of the penultimate animal sidekick performances in an animated film. I was between 2 characters by the same actor.
Oh, wow.
But I chose Eddie Murphy for Donkey in Shrek.
Nice.
I think Donkey in Shrek is one of Eddie Murphy's most hilarious roles, like live action or voice. And I was real torn between him and Mushu, because Mushu is also another great animated voice role by Eddie Murphy. But when you have a character like Donkey that is more popular in the movie than the actual main character, and consistently just steals scene after scene after scene, and even throughout the whole franchise, you can say what you want about the Shrek franchise. I'd say the first 2 were really good, and then after that it got kind of but the consistent MVP of every single Shrek movie is Eddie Murphy.
Is Eddie Murphy?
I think so.
I have to go with Robin Williams as the genie in Aladdin.
That was another close pick for me.
Man, what a performance! And until Moana, where The Rock gives a really fun kind of manic performance. Yeah, I really hadn't seen anybody be that charismatic or manic with their, kind of sidekick performance and pull it off. There are certainly ones that don't quite pull it off to the same extent. But I think,
that's the comedic genius of Robin Williams. I mean, they didn't even write lines for him.
They had to do the animation around his voice.
They did have lines written for him, but he was improvising so much they're just like, screw it. Like,
you're not gonna put Robin Williams in that box.
And they trusted him to do his thing, and he really brought it home. That's a really good pick. So, for Best Supporting Actress, I have another one that people might not think about, but this is one of my favorite villains in an animated film, and I was torn between 2 villain performances for this, but I went with Eartha Kitt. You probably don't know that name, but she is the voice of Yzma in Emperor's New Groove.
Yeah.
I love Emperor's New Groove so much.
It's such a great movie.
I love that
That's
film.
a great choice.
It is so funny. And Yzma, this character that she portrays in Emperor's New Groove, is it's a villain role like you've never seen before. And, it's hard to bring politics into an animated film.
Yeah.
And Emperor's New Groove doesn't bat you over the head with it, but it is a political satire. And I think Yzma's performance in it she's just so quotable. The Paul the Lava Cronk, like everybody has an Yzma impression. And I think it's a fantastic role.
I don't think I can do better than that one. I'll pick another one. Let's go with Mrs. Potts from Beauty and the Beast. And I cannot remember who voiced it.
I can see her face in my head
right?
now.
Yeah,
Emma Thompson.
Yeah.
Emma Thompson.
That's just a wonderful performance. I love all the supporting performances in Beauty and the Beast. Another one could have been Lumiere, for the best supporting actor. Just great performances all around there.
So, you brought out Inside Out earlier, and I said to hold that thought. So the next award is Best Screenplay, and I chose Inside Out. I think Inside Out is the smartest animated film ever. I think it really is. The super complex themes that they had in this film, it's such a mature film, but particularly what they did with sadness and teaching kids that it's okay to be sad. It's okay to have negative, or not all emotions, even if it seems negative, it's not a negative emotion. Sadness is necessary. And I think teaching kids that lesson, especially having Riley going through puberty as well, I think what Inside Out did was just spectacular. I remember seeing that in theaters, and I was with all kids, all families, and I was laughing louder than every child in this theater because Inside Out is just fantastic. So the best written animated film I'd say out there is Inside Out, hands down.
I can't disagree. I will choose another one just to choose a number 2, because that is number 1 for sure. I'm going to go with How to Train Your Dragon. I think this movie is supremely intelligent in a way that is not obvious to pick up on at first. There are themes in this movie about perseverance through disability, and the parallel nature of the dragon and Hiccup, about finding their place in the world when they seem so different and they're the only one like them, and then just all the way down to him ended up losing a foot when when the dragon has lost a wing, and it's really smart and really interesting in a way.
I've never even thought about it. I might have to rewatch it again. I've only seen How to Train Your Dragon once, and I didn't fall in love with it or anything. I haven't really revisited since. But you've convinced me. I think I might have to check that movie back out.
I think it's really smart.
I never really thought about it that way. I just always thought it was a fun dragon film. I never really thought too much
I think it is that too, but I think there's some deeper stuff there that you don't see a lot.
Interesting. Good pick. Okay, so for the next award, the winner I chose for this, so it's for Best Cinematography, and we saw the movie together that I picked for this. I chose Kubo and the Two Strings.
Yeah.
I've never seen anything like it. Like, in that film, the mixture of the way they incorporate origami into the stop motion, but then they have a little bit computer animated stuff, not a whole lot, a little CG stuff, but the things, especially like what they did with the water, with the waves and the origami.
With the leaves.
And the leaves, I've never seen anything like it before in an animated film. Like, never. It was so gorgeous.
Absolutely. Again, you have chosen the best choice. I don't know. Cinematography.
It's hard to think about an animated film because there's so many different styles of animation, you know?
Well, and that's the thing. I almost want to go with a movie that's not animated, but I loved the animation in it. It is also a recent movie. I'll just give a nod to the Monster Calls. Because the animated scenes in that movie are breathtaking and really interesting. And the animation of the tree itself is pretty incredible.
Yes. See, the thing is, I loved Monster Calls. I think it should have got way more attention. I think it should have got some Oscar praise, honestly.
I agree.
But yes, the tree itself, the monster was, it looked awesome. And it incorporated it into the environment of London really well because it was very drab, dreary, and then you have this animation, but then I love the way they incorporate the paintings and the art during the stories. Absolutely love that. So I like that pick a lot. So we got two more categories. The second to last category is a very important one in animated films. Most animated films have music in them. Music's usually a big part. So best song for an animated film, I picked a very deep cut for this one. It's probably a song that not most people think about when you think of your favorite song in an animated film. But another it's not Studio Leica film, but it's a Tim Burton film, Corpse Bride. I think Corpse Bride is one of the most underrated animated films. I think it's forgotten about a lot. And Corpse Bride is fantastic. And I chose Remains of the Day by the wonderful Danny Elfman. And it's the song, for those of you who don't know, it's the song where they're telling the story of what happened to the bride whenever Victor gets sunk down into the world of the dead. I think it's just such a fun song. It's so cool. I once did it for a cabaret in high school. It's such a fun song. Danny Elfman is a musical genius. And I think Corpse Bride doesn't get enough love. So it is getting best song for me for Remains of the Day.
Best song, huh? Initially, and this won't be my pick, but I'm going to be honest. Initially, my brain went to Let It Go, which I know has been beaten into the ground, but it is a pretty incredible song.
It is a good song.
But I want to go a different route. I have to go with Just Can't Wait to Be King from The Lion King. It is the most singable, fun. There's great puns in it. I love puns. There's great wordplay. That's one of those songs when it comes on, just pure joy.
That's a good song. That is a really good song. So, it's probably my favorite part of The Lion King. I admittedly think Lion King is an overrated film.
Whoa.
Yes. I do think it is a little overrated, but Can't Wait to Be King is one of my favorite songs.
Yeah.
It is easily my favorite song in that movie, so I will give credit where credit is due. And now the last one, the most important, is Best Picture. So the best animated picture. This could be the one we're talking about today. Everyone knows what my choice is. It's Nightmare Before Christmas, unabashedly. But I honestly do believe so. Like, I think it is this beautiful gothic romance film. It is also it's a Christmas film. It is a Christmas film. It is not a Halloween film. It is a Christmas movie. And it tells a complete story arc in the form of Jack Skellington. It portrays the themes of Christmas in a very positive way. It has fantastic music, and the animation still holds up today. Nightmare Before Christmas is the best animated film of all time.
I have to go with my number 5 movie of all time, which is Finding Nemo. Is my favorite animated movie of all time. I admit this is a very personal choice. This movie impacted me in a way very few movies have. I think probably because
you have a son.
I have 4 of them.
4 of them,
in fact.
I only met the one.
And I, at a point in my life where I think we had just had our 4th son. And so they're all at that age where they're trying to start new things, and you trying to find this balance of protecting them versus letting them grow, and what that looks like and what that means. And it just hit me in a really, really special place. Plus, I think the performances in it are incredible, just down the line. And it's almost a perfectly structured movie. There's no downtime. There's always something going on. Finding Nemo is my favorite animated film.
It's a great film. I think it is really underrated. Finding Nemo is a really great film. It's super funny, but it's just a fun watch. Like, I remember we used to watch it in school a lot for some reason.
Oh, yeah?
And it was just a movie that happened to be picked all the time, and I never got tired of it. It's a good film. Was Finding Dory necessary?
See, this is a question that
I haven't seen it.
I have seen it. I really liked it. Although I do have a bias for Pixar, which is obvious. But is the film necessary question is an interesting one to me. I have a good friend who is very on a unnecessary film kick. Like, this film just isn't necessary. And I'm thinking, what film is necessary? Like, you make art because it's what hits you. You know, no film is necessary, but, you know, I get it. I understand. It's like, you know, do you need to go back to that, you know, to that well? Yes. But if you can make a good movie, why not? I mean, I certainly didn't think The Jungle Book was going to be anything to write home about, and it was fabulous. So
I think, whenever I say necessary, because I do think that it all comes down to the storytelling. It comes down to the way it's written. Like, if a story is written to be a standalone film, and if there's reasons to revisit that world, then sure. And if you have a good story, another good story to tell, then sure, a sequel. But then if not, I think that it's okay to leave a film on its own. If you told the story in a complete fashion, that it has a start, middle, and end, and it's done, then I think there's no reason to revisit it. So I still haven't seen Finding Dory, but I think it falls in that category of, I think Finding Nemo, it told its story. It told a perfect story. Like you said, because I don't think there are any errors in it. There are things that I'm meh about in it, but as you said, I think it is a perfect story in terms of storytelling. So I just didn't think there was a reason to revisit that world.
Here's what I liked about Finding Dory. It tells pretty much the same story of finding a loved one, except instead of going searching for a loved one, it is about loved ones waiting to be searched for. So it kind of turns the idea on its head a little bit, and I like that. I also think the emotion of it really works. So, you know, the storytelling works. I don't know. I had a good time with it.
It's a great film. Well, there you go, guys. That is our animation Oscars from two guys whose opinions aren't really relevant, but we make up the Academy of Jesus for this episode.
By the way, I would say Best Picture, if you're looking at it like Oscar category Best Picture, I think Inside Out is probably the one that would get a lot of attention in that realm, just because of, like, you know, the way you talked about it and stuff, how smart it is. So, but my choice was more personal than that.
Same here.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I'm always in the minority in terms of how much I irrationally love A Nightmare Before Christmas, but I don't care. I think it's a film that serves its purpose perfectly.
But that's what makes it fun, right?
Exactly.
Like, we each get to experience movies in our own terms. And
see, this is why I love talking movies. I love talking movies with you, and I'm glad that you were able to, like, you had your choices, like, on the ball. Like, you didn't really have to stall, because Aaron knows his movies, guys. So I love that you were able to come up with choices on the fly like that. I feel
bad. Like, I feel if I had extra time, I'd find, like, the perfect choice. But I think, had in at least 3 of those categories the perfect choice. There was no way I was finding something better than some of those choices. So
I appreciate that. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get into the bulk of the show. This is where we talk about the movies. So the theme is Pixar Films, and Aaron chose The Incredibles. I think it's almost a unanimous pick for Best Pixar Film. I think, like, I'm in a bunch of movie groups on Facebook, and that is, like, if you put up a poll for the Best Pixar Film, Incredibles runs away with it in a landslide.
Oh, it's so good. And it's so good in it.
And it was my pick, too. Like, that would be my favorite Pixar film as well.
It's a movie that it also appeals to the people who love ranking things, too. Like, you know, it appeals to geek culture in a certain way with the comic book superhero aspect of it, which, by the way, when it happened, wasn't a big thing. In movies.
It's the best Fantastic Four film we've ever gotten.
That's right. It is beautifully layered. I don't want to jump ahead on anything, but
that's what we do. We get into it. What do you love about The Incredibles?
So I think if I had to zone it in on one thing that I love about this movie, it is the metaphor of this movie and this family. Everybody's superpower is representative of a very relevant concept to somebody in that role in a family. The fact that Mr. Incredible Incredible is, strong and puts the whole world on his shoulders and, those kind of things. That the mom has to be elastic and do a million
backwards,
bend over
literally.
backwards, do a million things at the same time, and is stretched thin for her kids, is such a beautiful metaphor. The teenage daughter who just wants to be invisible and not seen, and the son, the kid who just wants to be a kid. He just wants to be rambunctious and run as fast as he can, and the world's telling him he can't. All of those together with the fact that this is a movie about embracing that you can be excellent at something. That's okay. It doesn't mean that other people are worth less than you. It just means that you're excellent at something. And over again, the movie says, I think at least 3 times, maybe 2 times, when everybody's special, nobody is. And so it's a really interesting thought to know, okay, it's okay to be special and to be different and to be good at something, and know that that's valuable. So, yeah, I just love all the themes in this movie.
I 100% agree. Like, this is, like you said, it's a superhero film. Back in the times, this was back in 2004. Back in times where there weren't a whole many of them. We were getting there. Like, they were starting to come out because we had already had the 2 X-Men
films.
The
X-Men movies had come out.
We had 2 Spider-Man films by that point. So, I mean, they were happening, but they weren't a big thing. But it's a family movie first. Like, it's a movie about a family. And then, just in particular, though, Mr. Incredible's story about a father, hitting his midlife crisis. He's going out with his best friend, reliving the old times because he has a family now and he feels like he is no longer, his life isn't what it used to be. And he's working a job that he hates, and then an opportunity comes along. And he does, what's making him happy. And is it the best for his family? Well, who's to tell? But he's not perfect, though. He's not the perfect father as much as he wants to be. He wants to be Mr. Incredible, the best superhero and the best father. And he realizes that, family's first, obviously. And I think that's what the end of the lesson at the end of the day is for The Incredible. But not only that, like, this film is just so much fun.
Right?
It is such a blast. Syndrome, a fantastic villain.
Yeah. Jason Lee?
Jason Lee,
yeah,
yes.
Yeah.
And he does a wonderful voice performance, but a villain that you can really relate to. He was somebody that was let down by his heroes and then turns against them. I think that is incredible. Didn't even do that one on purpose.
Nope, it's going to happen many times.
But yeah, and it's just such a fun film. You have Samuel L. Jackson, one of my favorite side characters in a film.
He's great.
As Frozone. Like, everything. You know what, Bob? Like, I love the opening scene when they're in the car. You know what, Bob? What if, just to switch things up, we actually go bowling tonight?
We actually
do what our wives think we're doing.
Yeah.
Just to switch things up. Like, I love that scene so much. And as I've gotten older, I appreciate it even more. I'm like, man, that is like a real thing.
The beauty of the "Where's my super suit" scene as well is always quoted in my house, which is a lot of fun from him. Yeah, he's great in it. Edna Mode is wonderful.
Edna Mode.
Voiced by Brad Bird, right? Didn't Brad Bird, who directed the movie, I think he also did the voice of Edna Mode. And just that scene where she's showing the suits for the family to Mrs. Incredible or Elastigirl, and she has no clue what's going on. Like, why are you building suits for our family? Is so much fun on so many different levels. So the whole cape thing,
I 100% agree. And
so good.
Poking fun at all these different superhero tropes about the way that superhero films stories are told. I love how they did that with the this is the part where I do this, or I love the Jason Lee quote. You got me
monologuing.
So, oh my goodness, it's so great. And the action scenes are great. And I love how, you have different portions of the film that focus on each character. They're all each going through something different. And then when they are brought together, back together as a family in the end, and then they solve the problems as a family, I think it's just the way they told the story. It's amazing.
There are a couple euphoric, like, stand up and cheer moments in the movie, and I have cried at most Pixar movies. There's not a real cry point at this movie, but I actually teared up at one of these moments. It's a weird moment to tear up at, but when Dash is finally able just to run as fast as he wants, and he looks down and he's running on water, and that little laugh he makes, like, can you believe this is happening? I actually teared up at that because there's something really powerful about knowing you can do something and the whole world is telling you not to do it, and you get that moment to prove how incredible it is, and just to do your own thing. There's something really beautiful there.
And another one. But yeah, no, I've seen that scene like broken down in YouTube videos, like about why that scene is so great. It really is.
It's amazing.
Like, it is a fantastic scene, and like you said, it's the little intricacies that even though you are seeing him do something extraordinary, superhuman, he's running on water, and we see him have a genuine human moment where he's just like, oh my God. And you see the realization, the joy on his face. And like you said, he finally got the chance. That's when Violet was like, run, Dash, like run. And he was like, okay. Yeah, such a great film.
And then there's a moment, another one of those euphoric moments at the end of that where all the family all runs into each other. And then more of those ships, surround them, and they all strike a pose as a family. And it's just like, yes, it's incredible. Like, I don't know how many times that's going to happen. We probably should just check them off.
Just like at least 2 more. I see it happening.
But it's just amazing. It's a wonderful little moment. And so there's so much of that during the action in this movie.
Yeah, I love everything about The Incredibles. I think it is another film that it does not have any low points in it for me. It doesn't have any weakness. I live for nitpicking films, and I mean, I could do it, but I'd have to try really hard, incredibly hard to nitpick this film. And I can't do it.
Even the technology is really cool. Like
Brad Bird he knows what he's doing.
Those big black globs that they trap Mr. Incredible with when he's trying to escape is so cool. Like, it's just it's amazing stuff.
Everything about that scene, the framing, the editing of it's incredible. Like, oh my goodness, you see it, and then the flashes get faster, and he's just covered in these globs. Oh man, I love that you brought that scene up. Yeah, The Incredibles, guys. I mean, we could boast about this film a bunch, and we don't have anything to complain about, so there's nothing bad to talk about. So,
or when she's in the plane and the missiles are coming, and she's telling Violet to do a force field around the plane, and Violet just can't do it, and she makes that split-second decision and just rolls over them and out the back of the plane, and then she's passed out because of the explosion, and they're all falling through the air. Just that stuff is so intense. And then she wakes up and somehow forms a parachute, and I could watch that movie all the times.
Yeah. It's a phenomenal film, and we are finally getting the sequel still in another year.
Now, is that one you would have worries about it being unnecessary?
The only reason that I would say it's unnecessary, because I think there's plenty of stories to tell, in that universe. There is, because now everything's changed. Superheroes are back. They're in the public again. And I think that was another really interesting aspect of that film about the identities of superheroes. Like, they, kind of borrowed that from the X-Men films a little bit.
Sure.
And I think that's another story they could tell and have the family drama in it. Like, how does Mr. Incredible deal with his family being a known super family now? Like, what do they do, or how do they maintain being a family and the superhero team now? So I think there's plenty of story to be told. It's just the fact that it's been so long, and that's what kills me. But, I mean, Pixar is, solid with the exception of Cars 2, pretty solid with their sequels. So, I don't know.
Right?
The only thing that worries me is because I don't want an Independence Day resurgence on my hand. Like, it's been 16
I can't imagine
years,
that'll happen.
and I can't imagine that because, like you said, Pixar has the best batting average in film. I think it will be fine. But yes, I think it's totally necessary.
Independence resurgence happened because the primary draw of that first movie wasn't back for the second movie. Will Smith, the charm of Will Smith, was completely missing from that movie.
Oh yeah.
They've got Brad Bird. They've got the heart of what made The Incredibles The Incredibles. So I don't think I would worry about that.
I'm not worried about it either. I'm really excited for it. But so that is also my pick. But so I chose my number 2 film. I chose Monsters, Inc. I don't think this comes to mind as people's go-to.
Would you say it's the most underrated Pixar movie?
Yes, I would definitely say it's the most underrated Pixar film.
I put A Bug's Life up there too. A Bug's Life is really underrated.
Bug's Life is really good, but I just Monsters, Inc. It's a movie about friendship above anything else. It's about friendship, and besides Buzz and Woody, my next favorite animated duo is Mike and Sully, played wonderfully by John Goodman and Billy Crystal. They have such good chemistry together. The vocal charisma that they both have is fantastic in the film. But then it's also not only a film about friendship, but it's a film about I'm trying to think of a word to describe it. Guardianness? Like what's that? What's the term for like when you protective of?
Yeah, protection.
It's like almost like maternal instinct, but that's not what I'm trying to get at. I'm so blanking on what I'm trying to describe. Because he is thrust into a parental role almost the way he grows with Boo, I don't know. I don't know how to describe it, but it's
a movie at its heart for me about the power of positivity versus the power of negativity.
That too.
It is a movie that says, there's power in being negative. There's power in fear. There really is. But there is more power in joy. There is more power in the positive than there is the negative. And this whole universe is built on the power of fear. And for them to come to the conclusion that actually laughter is so much more powerful than screams is, I think it's not only a wonderful message overall, but it's kind of the heart of what they do.
It's also a very meta movie, and that's what I like taking this idea of the monsters in your closet and building an entire universe around it. Like seeing the networks of the doors is super cool. It's a super cool idea.
That scene's incredible.
I mean, there's so many amazing things about this film, and just it's very meta. Just that's what they do, and that's the way their society works. I just love all the side characters and the animation. You get to see these interesting monsters and meet them with their different abilities and stuff. But not only that, this is a personal film for me because I grew up with this film. Like our family cat's name was Boo because we got her around. Monsters Inc. came out. We saw Monsters Inc. in theater like 4 times because my sister was obsessed with it. And then I remember having it on VHS, and there was a scene that we'd rewind. And we had lost the remote at this point, guys. So we had to do it by the buttons on the VCR. This is such a prehistoric story I'm telling.
Yeah.
But we'd rewind this very specific scene. To this day, I still watch the scene and crack up. I don't know why, because it's not even the funniest scene in the film. But it's a scene in the film where they're in the locker room. And I love that, like this work environment like that they had at Monsters, Inc. I really thought that was really cool. A real cool take on just the everyday work life, like work grind, competing with fellow coworkers, that kind of stuff. I thought that was interesting, but they're in the locker room and they're talking and Randall is invisible listening. And then he goes up to him and he's talking about breaking the scare record. And he goes, shh, 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 shh. You hear that? Those are the winds of change. And they slithers away and Billy Crystal goes, you hear that? You hear the winds of change? And I can watch that scene every single time and start cracking up. And we'd watch that scene at least 6 times during one viewing of Monsters Inc. Just so it's a very personal pick for me because like I've seen this movie I don't know how many times. Monsters University, like it's
I like it more than most, but yeah,
I like it more than most as well. And a case of was it necessary to go back to this world? I think so. But it also doesn't make sense because there's a point in Monsters, Inc. where it says they've known each other since 3rd grade. And then in the film, they hadn't met each other until university. Well, that just all right. You just ruined the continuity of the whole reason you're making this movie.
I've heard them talk about that too, and they made a conscious decision to do that, even knowing that they would get called on the carpet for it. But
don't get me wrong, I love the depiction of college that they do in this film. They did it in a very smart, funny way to integrate it in with the universe of the monsters. I think it was really smart, and I think it's really funny. But I mean, it was fine. I would have been fine without it. Or I don't know.
It's not as good as Monsters, Inc., that's for sure.
There's no way. And you talk about moments when you tear up during Monsters, Inc. at the end when you hear Boo say "Kitty" and you see.
But even
his face.
before that, the scars on
Mike's hands.
On Mike's hands. It gets the door back every together time.
And he has the last shard stuck to his clipboard. That's man.
And there's some
that's a good one.
There's some great twists in that movie too. Water News twist is really interesting and done really well.
It's a very
gotta
dark...
get me your paperwork. That whole thing, becoming something more than it was.
Everybody has a Roz impression.
Yeah.
And that is another just super famous side character in a film. That was almost my pick for Best Supporting Actress, was going to be Roz. I don't know who plays her, but oh my goodness. And everything about it is just so funny.
And Steve Buscemi, right, is...
Steve Buscemi is Randall.
Yeah.
And I love Steve Buscemi so much.
Yeah, there's a lot great in Monsters Inc. and nothing more for me than the door chase scene that you mentioned. That scene is mind blowing.
It's so much fun. All the nods you see to the other Pixar films is really cool.
Yeah, Easter eggs and stuff.
Yeah, because apparently, that's the trailer from that you see in Toy Story, or you see the pizza van from Toy Story, and there's so many cool things in it. But yeah, just this universe of flying through doors and activating it, and then
what's interesting about that is one of the interesting things is when they introduce this concept of the idea that monsters have access to all these doors to be in these closets. If you really think about it, you go, oh my goodness, that would be millions of doors. There's no possible way. And then Pixar takes that, and instead of being afraid of that, they actually embrace it and take you into that room, and you go, oh, this is how they would have to do it. There are millions of doors here, and it would have to be a really crazy system of bringing those doors down and going into them.
I wish they explained the concept of the North Pole and Santa Claus like this, in some very rational way for it to make sense. Because I think that'd be really interesting. But yeah, Monsters Inc. And I think the reason that it's not as highly praised as the rest of Pixar films, because you saw me struggling trying to pinpoint what it exactly is. I think it shuffles a lot of different ideas around, because I will say, even though Monsters Inc. is my number 2 scene, the scene where they're randomly banished to the snowlands and then they have to be friends again, they're with the abominable snowman. That whole scene it throws me off every single time I watch it.
Does feel a little out of place, doesn't it?
It feels a little out of place, so that's my one complaint that I have about Monsters Inc., because I will admit it's not perfect by any standards.
But they had to get John Ratzenberger in the movie because he's in every one, so they had to find some voice for him.
I feel like it was just tacked on. They're like, did we get John in the film?
That's right, yeah.
John shows up. He's like, I'm ready to record my part, guys. And they're like, shit.
Can we put an abominable snowman in this? Maybe something about yellow snow.
Yes, got it. Monsters, yellow snow. This will be funny. So, yeah, I feel like that's my one complaint about Monsters, Inc. But it's a very personal pick for me. I love Monsters, Inc., but 2 very... incredible films. One more time. I feel like I got one more in me somewhere.
I think it's a monster of a movie. It's a monster
there we
of
go.
a movie.
All right, guys. So that will go ahead and do it for the bulk of the show. And we'll go ahead and close out as usual with story time, a segment that I still have not come up with a better title for. That's okay. It'll come soon. The year is young, guys. But yeah, so we're going to do story time. We're just going to talk our favorite memories with Pixar films. Did you have one in mind, or you want me to tell mine first?
Yeah, you go first, because I'm going to have to think of one.
Okay. Like I said, it is going to come with a personal experience from Monsters, Inc. I've never, and this is just, has nothing to do with the movie, really, but it does, like I said, our family cat, her name was Boo. And I've never gotten, it's the only pet that, I had the entire length of her lifespan. I've never gotten to do that with a pet. I think that's a very underrated thing about growing up with pets and families and things like that. And we had her for 16 years. And literally, we got this cat the week that Monsters, Inc. came out. So it was around that time. So 2001, had her for, 15 years. And it was just my sister. She was only 4. So, of course, that's why she named it Boo. And I think Monsters, Inc. was just a really important movie for me and my siblings. It was something that we bonded over a lot. And then, like I said, the whole pet aspect is goes back to Pixar bringing families together. I think it brings families together through movies, because my family's also been a very big movie-centric family. And then we had a little, movie addition into the family with the pet. So that is, it's a very simple story, but she just passed away not too long ago, about a few months ago.
Aww.
So it's just crazy. You never think about when you grow up with your pets like that. And then she was always just that little reminder about Monsters, Inc., which I, love that film.
I'll share a simple one as well. And then maybe a deeper one too. But one thing we haven't talked about with Pixar films is their short films, and there's always one before, the latest Pixar movie, and I almost said always great. The volcano one was a little off for me, but the others
that one was sad. Oh my goodness. Sad. I remember I was like, okay.
But the one that I always remember because I would watch it with my boys over and over again. There's actually two, but For the Birds, which is about the birds on the high wire. Do you remember this one? Have you seen this one?
Oh, yeah, that's an older one.
It's an older one, and there's a funny looking bird who, and all these quote unquote normal looking birds are trying to get him off their high wire and making fun of him, and at the end he ends up slingshotting them all into the air, and they all drop back without their feathers. And I just remember laughing over and over and over again with that one with my boys.
That's a really good short, and if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure that short plays before Monsters Inc.
Does it? Is that the one?
Almost positive because
it could be. I can never remember which ones play with which.
Because I've seen that short a lot of times, and because they would put the shorts on the VHSs too. They would put the shorts in front of the movie, and I've seen that short a lot of times. I think the only conclusion would be that I'm almost positive it was in front of Monsters, Inc.
The other one that I always watched with my boys that we loved was Boundin'. Do you remember Boundin' with the jackalope that teaches the lesson to the sheep? The sheep get sheared.
Know if I've seen that one.
Okay, so it's all done in song, and it's actually recited and sung by the guy who voiced the government boss in The Incredibles. So the guy that comes in and says, okay, so he voiced...
Bob, we have a problem, Bob.
Yeah, exactly. So he voices this beautiful story about, enjoying the things that might seem painful to begin with, but understanding their purpose. And it's really beautiful. If I were to go deeper, it would have to be moments with my wife watching Pixar movies, specifically the first 15 minutes of Up, which is...
I don't like that film that much. I think the film itself is okay. That is.
I disagree. I think it's amazing, but
I think that is some of the most those first 10 minutes are 10 of the most perfect moments in film.
Yeah, it's incredible. That one and WALL-E were two that we really connected over, and so I those are some moments that I think of too.
See, I think you just shed light on my problem because those are my two least favorite Pixar films. But I don't have a family, though. I don't have a wife. As soon as I have a wife, I will get those movies.
You'll
I'll
totally
get it.
understand it then.
Because maybe that has been why I don't like those two. Like, I don't like WALL-E, like, a lot.
Wow.
I passionately don't like WALL-E. Up, I like. But
how can you not like WALL-E? It's so good.
I can get into it. That's a whole nother podcast
maybe you
episode.
Just need more dialogue. Maybe it's that there's not a script there.
I have a lot of problems with that film. That is a whole nother podcast episode to roast WALL-E, but we're not gonna get into it. Sorry, I just ruined your happy stories with my disdain for WALL-E.
It's a beautiful movie with my wife. I hate it. It's an awful movie.
Oh man. But like I said, maybe that's my issue. I will, after I watch these films being married, I will remember to message you. I'll be like, hey, Aaron, I like WALL-E a lot more now.
I always hesitate to say that kind of stuff because I don't want to presume anybody's ability to experience a movie, especially with the kids thing. Like you'll hear people say, oh, you'll understand more when you have a kid. And it's like, you know what? It can be a good movie whether you have a kid or not.
Yeah.
And there certainly are, we all have life experiences that help give us different kinds of depths with different kinds of messages. But I'm always hesitant to be like, oh, you just don't like it because you don't have kids. No, that's not necessarily always it, that kind of thing. So
that's the beauty with film in general, that everybody can kind of attach different things to different memories and emotions in their life. So, given why people love certain movies other than others. But again, I think animated films have to have this really difficult task of trying to be as universal as possible with their storytelling, but at the same time, you don't want to make it boring. But like you said, I think they have figured out the formula because they
got the secret sauce.
They got the secret sauce, guys. But that will go ahead and do it for our show today. It was great talking a bunch of Pixar films, doing the animation Oscars. Aaron, it was so good to have you on.
Thanks, man.
I love talking movies with you, whether it be on here or your podcast. It's a good time. So we'll go ahead and do plugs one more time. Aaron, where can the people find you?
YourMovieFriend.com or search for Your Movie Friend on YouTube. Give me a sub there if you like. You can also find me on Twitter at Aaron Dicer. That's where I do a lot of my movie conversation. I enjoy that. I really enjoy the community that's kind of building, where we can kind of chat and talk about movies, whether it be in the YouTube comments or on Twitter. It's a lot of fun, and you can subscribe to Sift Pop, SIFTPOP. It's the name of the podcast. iTunes, Stitcher, wherever you do your podcast, should be able to search for it and find it pretty quickly.
Yes, guys. Please check out Sif Pop. I've plugged it a couple times because I've been on it a couple times. So make sure you guys are checking out the Sif Pop podcast. It is a good time talking films with Aaron and Andrew. I always have a blast. As usual, guys, you can find me across everything at Jesus12. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and my YouTube channel has changed. It is no longer Jesus Live. It is Jesus12. So make sure you are subscribed, guys. Jesus Take the Reel every Tuesday. Peace out, guys.